This is Optimal Living Daily, episode 1511, Between Peace and Pursuit, by Greg Audino of gregaudino.com. And I'm your narrator, Justin Malik, reading you blogs or articles every single day of the year to help you live a more meaningful life, covering personal growth, self-help, minimalism, productivity, happiness, and more. Today's author is life coach Greg Audino, who also happens to host two of our other shows, Optimal Relationships Daily and our newest show, Optimal Living Advice, where he answers your life questions with his expertise as a life coach. Now, before we get to his post, if you have a business or you know someone who does, you probably know that small business owners wear a lot of hats, and some of those hats are totally great, but some, like filing taxes and running payroll, for example, not so great. That's where Gusto comes in. Gusto makes payroll, taxes, and HR actually easy for small businesses. Fast, simple payroll processing, benefits, and simple management tools all in one place. Gusto automatically pays and files your federal, state, and local taxes, so you don't have to worry about it. Plus, they make it easy to add on health benefits and even 401ks for your team. Those old school, clunky payroll providers just weren't built for the way modern small businesses work. But Gusto is. Now's the time to get started with tax season being right around the corner. Don't wait. Listeners get 3 months free when they run their first payroll. Try a demo and see for yourself at gusto.com/old. That's gusto.com/OLD. For now, let's get right to the post as we optimize your life. Between Peace and Pursuit, by Greg Audino of gregaudino.com. Happy people come in many forms. On one side of the spectrum, there are the hippies that are one with the universe, finding peace everywhere they turn. On the other side, there are the psychopaths that walk between skyscrapers on tight ropes. Then there's everyone in between. What's the common denominator? What I want to do in this read is shed light on one simple practice that stands as a sweet spot between a peaceful, everything is great type of life versus the life of someone who constantly seeks challenges and covering new ground to feel their best. That practice is allowance. Allowance is the key ingredient for both parties here, and though it results in the same goal for each one, the path by which it does so and the reason that it's so meaningful is different. What do I mean by allowance? Well, this is pretty first grade, really. It means allowing things to happen. Really take a second to consider the weight of that, though. Consider how much that permeates into your life. I'm talking about allowing feelings, events, catastrophes, impulses, everything. It's a lot to wrap one's mind around, so let's go ahead and break this thing down. It all starts with something happening to you that elicits a negative reaction. Let's say these some things can be broken down into two categories, interior and exterior. As far as the interior goes, a feeling comes over you, right? At face value, feelings can then be broken down into emotions and urges. What does it look like to allow a negative emotion like anger, sadness, jealousy, etc.? To allow a negative emotion means to feel it without resistance. It's to say, yes, I'm feeling angry, sad, jealous, and that's all right. It may not be in my best interest to be feeling this way, but it's how I'm feeling right now, and that's fine. Theoretically, if you got to a place where you're so good at allowing everything, such feelings wouldn't come up. But chances are that's a ways off, so in the meantime, to accept these emotions without supplementary commentary about how wrong it is to be feeling them is what it means to allow negative feelings. What about when this feeling is coming off as more of an urge? Let's say feeling murderous, for example. Let's dive in head first, right? When you have a negative feeling that's provoking you to act in a negative way, you're still granted the opportunity to allow this feeling, no matter how much it might frighten any part of you. Whether or not you choose to engage in the action is a different conversation for a different read, but to not judge yourself harshly for having certain urges in the first place is where allowance comes in. It's where patience comes in. If need be, it's also the attitude that will enable you the sensibility to seek help for yourself. Remember, there's nothing wrong with desiring and pursuing certain outcomes. It's human nature. However, to not be resistant of your current circumstances is an integral part of life, and there's absolutely a difference between the two. And then on the other hand, you have the interior feelings that don't have quite as much weight to them, but still pry you out of your comfort zone. I'm talking about the random urge to take the long way home, even though you really should get back soon, or the inclination to step out of the office and watch the sunset, even though you still have another hour worth of paperwork to sift through, that sort of thing. It's the innocent things you normally resist by saying, no, I really shouldn't. These kinds of instances make that different conversation about whether or not you engage in certain actions that I mentioned earlier a whole lot easier, but still, the allowance is the same. It's allowing yourself to get taken away slightly off schedule. It's allowing the small, unique callings into your life, thereby getting more comfortable and in tune with the present. Then, of course, there's that rough, tumbling exterior. There are those things that happen to you on the exterior that are really out of your hands, such as the death of a loved one, losing your job, or your home going up in flames. Don't get overwhelmed. There are smaller things too. Don't forget about people gossiping about you, being treated unfairly at work, or my favorite example that seems to come up in every single thing I write, traffic, let alone war, famine, and other tragedy that could be thousands of miles away. The lack of control we have over these things can make them much easier or much harder to allow depending on who you are. Either way, to let them be, to not be so clouded as to assume that they're undeniably wrong for you or wrong for the world, grants you the ability to allow them to happen and understand even briefly that we don't have all the answers. In this way, allowance lifts a huge weight off the shoulders of those that bear the burden of claiming to know the perfect order of events that should be taking place. We've been talking for a few minutes here, but how does this tie together? What does all this have to do with different paths towards meeting the best versions of ourselves? This might sound like the hottest take ever, but the fact is that inner peace and challenging oneself are in many ways the same thing. When you aren't living in a state of resistance, when you're flowing and allowing things to be as they are, even if you're gently pursuing something more appealing, of course, it's a form of peace. It's also a challenge though, because this is against our instincts. To accept things that are way off your agenda and breaks the normal cycle of what you planned on or anticipated is challenge. Leaning into all of these unexpected, undesirable things, regardless of how severe they are, is a practice in both peace and challenging yourself to leave your comfort zone. You just listened to the post titled Between Peace and Pursuit by Greg Audino of gregaudino.com. And don't forget, Gusto offers modern, easy payroll and benefits to small businesses across the country. They were even named Best Online Payroll by PC Mag. Get 3 months free when you run your first payroll at gusto.com/old. Don't wait. Now's the best time to get set up. That's gusto.com/OLD. And that'll do it for today. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow where your optimal life awaits.